Welcome to Faith Stories with Dawn DeMarco-Book. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they will see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16.
Hello, welcome to Faith Stories. I'm Dawn DeMarco-Book. What is Faith Stories? Faith Stories are Christians from all walks of life who share their stories of faith, hope, and love. And my prayer is that you would come to know your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, through His Word. What is His Word? It is the Bible. If you need a Bible, please reach out to me at FaithStorieswDawnDeMarco@gmail.com, and I will get you a Bible into your hands. You guys, I'm going to do this every week. I want Stacy's book to be sold like crazy. She was a dear friend of mine. She passed away in September of 2024. She leaves her husband and 2 teenage daughters. You can get it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and it would help the family so tremendously by buying this book. And it's a page turner. It's about a young girl who got in a fight with her mom, and she got picked up and trafficked. So check it out. It doesn't go into real big detail, but it's a page turner, and you won't be disappointed if you get a copy of her book. Okay, we're going to go to a quick break, and we're going to be right back with my amazing guests.
Broughton Garage Door Sales now offers you a difference with the LiftMaster Secure View Ultra Quiet Smart Opener with camera, LED 360-degree lighting, and battery backup. Built-in camera adds video and two-way audio communication to the MyQ app. You can control, secure, and monitor your garage anytime, anywhere from your smartphone. Schedule today at Broughton.com.
Just simply call Broughton. We open doors for you.
Tavilla Properties, located at 11471 West Sample Road, Suite 17, located in Coral Springs, Florida, for all your commercial needs. Call Jan at 954-341-1632. That's 954-341-1632, or visit www.tavillaproperties.com. Welcome back to Faith Stories. If you have any prayer requests, please email me at FaithStorieswDawn@gmail.com. That's FaithStorieswDawn@gmail.com. And welcome back. So, my guests today are Doctors Jeff and Andrea Hazim. I met Andrea, gosh, it's been a long time, and she was so lovely. She had me come over for lunch, and I go and I sit down at the table, and it's like this feast, and I can't eat all this food, but it was so yummy. Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for inviting me. And I'm sorry it took so long to get you guys on, but I'm glad you're here. So Jeff and Andrea are going to share their story of how they met. And of course, it's a faith story and how God just orchestrated how you two met and fell in love.
It's absolutely a faith story. Should I begin? It's like, where to begin?
Well, we've got 25 minutes, so go.
Okay, I know. Well, I was in chiropractic school in my 20s. We got married when I was 29 or 30. And right at the tail end, I had just been divorced, actually.
Okay,
Sad
so you were
part
married
of my
prior.
story.
Okay,
Yes, for
all
a
right.
year and a half, physically abusive situation.
lovely.
Actually, that was all rooted in rebellion from what God showed me later on. And really, that whole situation is what He used to level me so I can discover my identity and my purpose in Him and get my amazing hubby. We've been married 25 years now.
Which is awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
So after that debacle,
we all have those, don't we?
the debacle, the rebellion debacle.
But I met you during the debacle, actually.
Yes, actually.
Originally.
It's true. You want
Yeah,
to say
original-
thank you?
Originally.
It's true, actually.
It's already
He met
twisty.
me when I was married.
So I was also married. So we both have that debacle story.
Yeah.
And after my tragic end, like I should have never been married. I didn't know anything, zero about relationships, like nothing. Never had an example.
Well, I think most people are like that, though, when you think about it.
I wasn't a
many people are prepared
Christian.
for that?
Oh, I
I
know.
wasn't raised with any understanding. Parents didn't have a great
Foundation.
marriage, never knew one, went through this disaster, and I'll never forget my friend, my most my closest prayer partner friend, he's like, we should pray about our wives. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like,
Say that one more time.
we should pray about our wives.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
And
I
Every
pray
week
for my
they would
husband.
pray
Every week.
for their wives.
And
So
so
smart.
we started meeting on Fridays just to pray for our wives. And in the early days of doing that, I didn't even know what to pray. I had no vision for what marriage could look like.
Right.
All I knew was that I really thought, even as a Christian at that point, that the best marriage was tolerable.
And why would you want to do it if
people
was
stayed
horrible?
married because they tolerated one another. But anyway, during the course of that, some months into that, I started having memories. Now, I was in my 30s by then, divorced. And I started having memories, like romantic memories of when I was a teenager. Not sexual fantasies, but romantic fantasies.
Okay.
Like, what would it be like to fall in love? So I started praying those prayers.
Awesome. Wow.
What she would be like, what I would feel like when I met her, what it would be like over the course of a lifetime, and so on. And week after week after week, I would pray those prayers.
I love it.
Which became like the checklist.
No, I understand
You know?
that. I made a checklist and I prayed for my husband,
The
so I can
checklist.
definitely relate
Yeah.
to this.
Then I went on to this. I went to this conference, this chiropractic conference in Atlanta,
Okay.
where she was in school.
My school was like the Mecca. All chiropractors would
Okay,
come
okay.
4 times a year for a conference called the Dynamic Essential.
Okay.
It was like 4,000 chiropractors there.
Wow.
So I go to this conference, and in the conference, there's this Saturday night event that chiropractors get up and they rah-rah the chiropractors.
Sure.
Tell their success
It's
stories.
a conference.
Yeah.
We all been to conferences,
So
right?
tell what happened. So by the way, she was there. She's a student, not a chiropractor. I'm
Not
a
yet.
practicing chiropractor.
Okay.
She's a student. She has no business being on the stage, but tell them what happened.
There's a lot of miracle moments in our story, so this is a good one. I was in the front row. I was on staff at my school as a photographer for Today's Chiropractic magazine. So I would get sent to these conferences. So I'm there front row with the camera, and I really sense God telling me that I'm going to get on the stage and speak. I'm like,
Okay, God, yes.
Okay.
Woo!
I am not a successful chiropractor. I am a student with a camera. How is that happening? Meanwhile, my
You
ex-husband
orchestrated.
was sitting right next to me, and he
Was he ex at the time?
No.
Or- okay, so you were
and
still
he's
married. That's right,
seeing
you said that.
something happening in me.
Okay.
And he's like, "What are you doing? What are you thinking? What's going on?" I'm like, I couldn't even say anything. But long story short, I go see the guy who's putting names on a list, and I walk up to him. I go, "Hi, I'm supposed to speak." He goes, "Oh, who are you?" And it was like God did a Jedi
was
mind
bold.
trick. Like it was just like put her name on the list. And he looks at me. I go, "I know, you know me. I'm Andrea. I'm a photographer. You see me everywhere." He goes, "Okay." He puts the name down and he goes, "Here's the rules of the game. Don't leave the ballroom. You have 5 minutes, and you may not even get called. Bye." And he walks away. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my name's on the list." So I slip back in my seat.
But you knew that God wanted you to do this, but you didn't know what
I
you
had
were
no
going to speak
choice.
about.
Right.
Okay, all right.
He was just going to put me on like a glove. And I was willing to have the courage to let me, because
Yes.
this wasn't the first time he's done this to me.
Okay. That
So
step
he
of faith
proved
that
to
you
me,
took. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
and what I call the great adventure.
Yeah.
I had signed up for that some months back, and it was always related to speaking.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know, like in places where people don't even know me. Like, why are they gonna? That's not. Come on. But he did that. So anyway, long story short, I get called on the stage, and I start speaking, and he's in the audience, and he hears me.
And
So
So-
what? Wait, before you go further, hold that thought. What were you speaking about?
Okay, so in chiropractic, my school in particular was holistic.
Okay.
You know, there's chiropractors that are like the accident chasers, and you know, it's like
Of
that kind of
course,
thing.
sure.
My school was very much, the philosophy was above, down, inside out.
Okay.
It was the power that made you, heals you. Unfortunately, a lot of it was very new agey.
Okay. Instead
So-
of it was God that heals you, not
Correct. Well, they would worship the creation, not the creator.
gotcha.
And that was the
happens
message.
a lot.
So
Yeah.
I get up on stage and God has me saying, have you ever gone to an art museum and you see art and you're looking at it and you imagine interacting with the painting and being like, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Like, what's with the colors in the corner there?" And
Yeah.
the artist is across the room going, I'm right here. You could ask me.
Right.
I made that. And the point was worship the creator, not the creation. And I literally felt when the Holy Spirit left. I was like, those with ears to hear, let them hear. And I left the stage.
I got the chills.
Yeah. So he saw me.
So I'm sitting in the audience with a friend. The friend is key. I'm a Christian already. This is a friend who's a Jewish chiropractor friend who's not a Christian.
Right.
And I remember seeing her, and when she said about the creation versus the creator, I'm thinking, this girl's got to be a Christian. She's talking about Romans chapter 1, because I think everything in Bible in my mind.
Which is awesome.
And so
That's his favorite
so
quote from Dr.
So I'm like,
Jeff.
oh,
Think in Bible.
she's amazing. That's all I thought. I didn't think a single other thing. During the
She's gorgeous.
no, I wasn't looking. I wasn't paying attention. I just was like, wow, she must be a Christian.
He probably wasn't looking that gorgeous.
Four-
He was running around as a photographer.
We grow into our gorgeousness.
You looked good. You look good.
I probably have my
So-
jeans on. Yeah. Well,
So
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing.
so you didn't have jeans on.
no.
So
He remembers. I'm sorry, Jeff.
so they
Go.
announced
fast forward.
that we're never going to get this done. Two women.
Wait, what happened next?
Just
Panama.
let me finish the whole story. No, so they announce at this conference that there's a mission trip, a chiropractic serving mission trip being
Wow.
organized to go to the country of Panama in Central America. And I'm thinking, I want to go on that trip. So I decide I'm going to go. I get the information. And 4 months later, this mission takes place.
So you hadn't met her. You just thought she was incredible.
I saw her. That was it.
He
Okay.
heard me. He said,
On
"No,
that
she's a
trip,
Christian."
Okay.
she's there.
I was on the trip.
I noticed,
With my ex.
by the way, I noticed her. She's with her husband. By the way, there's only 24 chiropractors. We did a lot of work for a week. The last few days of the trip was kind of like some downtime. We went, the sponsor of the trip was a chiropractor that his family was from Panama.
Okay.
The family had a house on the ocean on the Pacific side.
Nice.
And they were letting 2 of the chiropractors use the house for a wedding.
Oh, wow.
So they're getting married, and I'm at we're all there. I don't know these people other than the trip. And I'm watching her. I noticed that she's serving. She's she's
wedding
braiding the kids' hair.
photographer.
That
She's
does not
doing
shock
The
me.
hairdresser.
And I remember,
everything.
this is all I said. This is all I said. I said to myself,
It was funny. It was.
wow, she is doing all these things. She hardly knows these people. And in my mind, that's because she's a Christian.
servant, right.
That was it.
It was funny.
That was it. That trip ends, nothing.
Right, because she's married, so you can't. It's
Nothing,
not like you
nothing.
want to approach her.
1
because she's
year,
married.
1 year later, exactly 1 year later, I go on the same trip again. This time there's
Different part of the
140 chiropractors attending.
Whoa.
Going all over the
they're-
country.
And
Okay,
we have to get to
okay.
Panama City, and as you might imagine, every flight to Panama City is connecting in Miami.
Of course.
Right. And there was a few more
At the
miracle
time,
moments
I
there.
still live in the north. I live in the Northeast. I connect in Miami, and I see her in the airport.
By herself.
She's by herself.
with my pillow.
I
in my
noticed
arm.
back then. I noticed she also carried a pillow around. Like
I don't
you know.
leave home without my pillow.
And so I remember saying,
neck
"Oh,
has to be-
I said to her in the
Yes,
airport,
right?
I remember you. I remember you. Your pillow. I remember that." And
It's my pillow.
And then I said, "Is your husband with you?" And she said, "No, I'm divorced."
And you're thinking, yes.
No,
No.
that's
no,
not what I was
wasn't.
thinking
And
at
he
all.
was newly divorced too.
Yeah, so I
okay,
didn't think anything of that. I just thought, we get to
Really? Like all these
nothing.
instances,
Yep, not yet.
coincidences.
Not yet.
God,
This is the
We
man
get-
of self-control.
we got-
more
we
than
get to-
anyone on the planet.
We get to Panama City. We have a meeting that evening, I think it was, in the ballroom to get our assignments for the
Where are you going to go?
This 140 going to get distributed throughout the country.
They'd send like 10 here, 20
And so
there.
we're in there. We're in there. I don't see her in the ballroom. I don't notice anything.
So it was a big breakfast.
Breakfast.
And
Right, it was breakfast that morning, right,
I was wanting in Florida. You had to kind of do an internship. So I knew who I was going to do that with. It was a man, Joe Accurso's Italian guy. Went to school with his kids in chiropractic school, and he knew me. Him and his wife were on the trip, and I was going to be right with them, so we could get to know each other.
Good.
And he comes up to me at the breakfast, and he goes, "They switched my city. You should go tell them because I know you want to be with us, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, come on." And right as I'm up, they make an announcement. Now when he came and he met me the second time when I had
Right,
the pillow,
right.
that was my third trip.
Okay.
It was his second
My
trip.
second
Okay, all
My
right.
second trip, I went to this place that it looked like National Geographic, Boca del Toro. If you ever get a chance to go, it's an island off Panama. It literally looked like something at a National Geographic. And they made an announcement as I'm getting up, oh, we have 4 spots to go to Boca del Toro. I'm like, oh, wow.
man.
And don't forget, I went on this trip to talk to no one. I was recently divorced. I'm in the middle of reading this book called Knight in Shining Armor, which was chunky and a lot of healing and making a list.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I had the list at this point. And I just wanted to be alone with the AirPods, my journal, adjusting the day, hundreds of people coming to stadiums. We were doing chiropractic, and then go back to be alone.
There were no AirPods back
Well,
then.
it had the cord.
Well,
you
I know what she
The
meant.
cord, the
Yeah.
earbuds, whatever you
But
want to
know,
call
God-
them.
Corded things.
We always think we know what's going to happen, but then God intervenes. And thank God
Yeah.
for that, right?
Well, listen
So-
to what happens.
So I get up and I'm like, oh, Boca del Toro, I'd rather do that. And then the Holy Spirit literally was like I was on the phone. Why don't you do the opposite of what you always do, which is control the outcome?
Oh, hello.
Why don't you sit right back down and go wherever your name is on the list?
Yep.
I mean, you
Isn't
can't.
that funny?
Like, I was so desperate to follow God after a horrible divorce
Yeah.
of rebellion. And everyone told me not to marry him. I
Right.
did it anyway. So
Of
now
course.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I sat down. He sees
Listen
that I'm
to
not
him.
following him, Joe. He goes, you're not coming? I go, nope, have a good trip. So, long story short, God had us to meet
So
because
we
we had 2 vans going to that city. It was dark. He was on one van, I was on the other,
So by the way, this long trip out in the middle of nowhere
in the middle of nowhere.
takes half the day.
Banana plantation.
We get there in the early evening. We meet, all of us. There was about 20 some odd chiropractors in this section.
Yeah.
We meet in the courtyard of this motel that evening to then break up further into assignments. And that's
For the
when I
next
noticed
day.
she's on this trip. I
So
see
this
her.
is the third time you've
So I
seen
see her.
right?
I'm not thinking anything.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not thinking anything.
And we look back at pictures, and we were right next to each other at the little orientation meeting.
Yeah.
Everyone gets off the bus. We're with our bags. We're by the pool. We're like, tomorrow morning, da-da-da-da, and we're right next to each
And you're
other.
not even like putting two
No.
and two together.
We weren't on the same team that week, but the first night after we all get back from our assignments, we meet in the hotel and we're like, everyone wants to tell their war stories. I mean, we are serving thousands of
amazing.
people.
Miracles.
And so we
Like
all
health
meet and we all
miracles.
go out to the same restaurant. It's a long table and we are sitting on the
right
end of the
across.
table and we're sitting across from one another.
Right
Oh, by the
across.
way, again, this is my second trip, her third.
End of the table, like here and here?
No,
or-
right,
No, right
across, from
across.
each
Right
other.
across.
It's
Okay,
a long
all right.
table. We're on this side at the end.
Okay.
And by the way, the first trip, this is my second trip. The guy who's with me on this trip is the guy who was with me, the Jewish friend who
That
was
heard
sitting
me
with me
speak.
the first time I saw her. He's sitting right next to me,
Yeah.
and I'm
Now,
doing.
does he know that you had been praying for
No, he wouldn't
okay.
even
I'm
care.
I'm
Like
just
he doesn't know
curious.
this
No.
kind. Like,
Okay.
so.
So here, let me
so
tell
he's
what happened.
so
with
he's
the,
well.
it
I'm making.
all-
One more thing.
We're having
Okay,
some
I can feel it.
laughing. We're doing some laughing. some
Oh no, he
laughing.
was imitating Seinfeld, which I didn't really know Jerry Seinfeld. I knew about the show, but I
Right.
never watched
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But I'm
It's funny.
watching him perform it.
Right.
And everyone's crying, laughing, and I'm looking at him, and he looked like Seinfeld. If I could show you a picture from that
At
day.
that time.
Seinfeld never had a beard.
No, he had a little goatee, but kind of puffy hair. But the way his face looked was like a Jewish New Yorker.
Great.
Whatever,
And
that,
I
whatever
was,
that looks like.
To me, I don't know. I just knew Jerry Seinfeld was a Jewish New Yorker. I'm like, oh, you look like
And he's
Seinfeld.
quite funny.
So I say to him, oh, you're a Jewish New Yorker. That's why you do Seinfeld so good.
And I say, I'm not a Jewish New Yorker. By the way, I'm actually a Christian. And,
And
she
I'm
goes,
like-
and she says, no way.
I
And
was- yeah.
my Jewish friend says, yes,
Oh, he loves Jesus.
loves Jesus.
I was looking at him like, who asked you?
that's what he says. And I said, no, I am. And then this is where it really goes like, this is where it's, I said, yes, I am a Christian. I go to Times Square Church in New York City.
Now, do you know that church?
No, I do not.
Well, I'm living in Connecticut at the time, and I'm driving down into the city twice a week to go to a famous church, Times Square Church, David Wilkerson.
Yeah. Look
It's
up
the kind of church you
It's
would walk
incredible.
into and,
Off-Broadway
and literally the Holy Spirit would slam you and you'd kind of stumble out after every message.
Wow.
And that was my early years of being a Christian. That's what I was used to, just
Okay,
being slammed
okay.
by the Holy Spirit. And
So meanwhile,
you got to speed up. We got 10 minutes left.
Meanwhile, I used
Well,
to.
you have to go to commercial, so you have less than.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I used to get the newsletters from that church in the mail and digest them like that was like my Bible study.
Okay.
So I would tithe in the mail
And
because
how
I
did
felt
you
like
hear
that.
about that church, though?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. It's
Just
pretty
curious.
famous. The movie The Cross and the Switchblade. He was a country pastor that went to minister to the
no
gangs.
time for that.
So anyway,
speed up.
When he said
try to
that,
keep it
I literally everything froze like a movie. Everything went ear, and I went, "Oh my gosh!" Because I remember having a conversation with God. 5 years I tithed in the mail, and I went to churches, local churches that I was a part of, and I was like, "God, this is weird. Why can't I just put it Sunday when I go?" And He would say,
You have to
"Because you're
tithe to
sowing
this-
a seed,
Well, that's right.
and
Yeah.
one day you'll see the harvest."
Right. And tithe means you give money to your church, or you can tithe
Where
to
I was
other-
growing. That's why I did it.
Exactly,
Because
yeah.
I knew that's where I was getting fed.
But get to the
So
harvest.
that's where I was seeding. And I'm like, and God goes, and there's the harvest. I'm like,
I'm the
what?
harvest.
What does that mean, God?
Jeff, you're the host.
And to be completely honest,
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I did not know that he was my type.
Well, yeah.
I was like, that's nice, God, but we'll see. Still that little
Oh,
bit
so
of
you're
rebellion.
questioning God after all this,
Yes.
and you still like, hello?
I knew he was my husband.
Oh, you did.
But whether I was going to be obey or not is
Yeah,
the
well,
question.
okay.
Which I already did that, didn't obey the last time. So I better
You're
get
better
with
off
the
betting on
program.
God instead
Okay,
of
now
yourself.
we have to speed
Now
up. We have to speed up.
I had a list and he had a list.
Okay.
So 2 days later, we end up, everybody goes to dinner this way, we hang back.
You're going too fast. It's going too fast now. So we go back each day on our trip, and we decide the next morning. She says we should get together and have dinner alone. I'm thinking pretty forward, but I was like, I could do that. And
Did that like?
so
I needed to
so
interview.
what happened was
I got the
what
list.
happened was after that dinner, we went back to the hotel and we sat by the pool and we talked about God for until 4 in the morning.
Wow.
The next morning, she says we should have dinner alone. We never saw each other that day. We got back from our trips that night. We never saw each other. The following morning, same thing. That night, we did go to dinner alone. We waited for everybody to go one direction. We had an amazing dinner. We walked down the road to a Chinese restaurant, Latin-speaking, Spanish-speaking Chinese restaurant. I watched her order in the restaurant for the first time. She changes the menu every time. Still does,
that's a
25
woman
years later.
thing.
But on that walk down to the restaurant, I remember her holding my arm. And
Right.
I was like 32 years old. And I
Right.
felt like a little kid, like all these googly feelings. And so we have
So
dinner.
you knew that.
I knew something was happening. On the way back, we decided to go back to the pool and talk.
But wait, in the restaurant, it was like check.
Yeah,
At
we're
one
having-
point he said check, right? I go, what? He goes, I know what you're doing. I have a list too. I'm like, oh.
Oh.
Let's just go
All
for the
these-
full
all
interview
these
then.
questions,
Then
right?
it was like right out in the open. We were like asking each other questions on every category of life
Right.
to see if it was.
If you were in alignment, because
So-
you want to be equally yoked.
But
That's
it was
the thing.
scary
Well,
alignment.
what really happened, so what
Right,
happens
Really, that's
after
God.
I
That's
mean,
God.
but still.
we
That's
walk back
amazing
to the
alignment.
pool.
It was amazing.
This is the real, to
Miraculous.
me, the biggest miracle happens next. We walk back to the swimming pool, and we walk back to the courtyard of the hotel, which is like a mile down the road. And when we get out into the courtyard, we're walking past the pool, which had a coping about 4 inches higher than the deck. And she walked up onto the coping, just like spontaneously, walking next to me. And we turned and faced each other and hugged. No kiss, nothing like
Right.
that. We just hugged. My chin was on her right shoulder, and I felt in that moment like I disintegrated, like I was watching a Star Trek movie, and I went through a transporter, and I felt all these crazy things, and I thought to myself, what is this? Again, I'm not 17 years old.
Right.
And God spoke to me in that moment. He said, this is everything you've been praying about,
Wow.
and you don't recognize it? And what I had been praying about with my friend
We had direct-
way back was, when I meet her, I want to get struck by lightning. I want you to tell me who she is and that she's my wife. I don't want to figure it out myself.
Right.
And when I meet her, it has to be under a circumstance where I will be more in love and more attracted with her every day the rest of my life. And if I can't have that, I want nothing.
Right.
And in that moment, I knew that was
You
her.
knew. You knew. That's a perfect spot to pause. Let's go
See,
to
I
a quick
told you.
commercial, and we'll be right back.
Broughton Garage Door Sales now offers you a difference with the LiftMaster Secure View Ultra Quiet Smart Opener with camera, LED 360-degree lighting, and battery backup. Built-in camera adds video and two-way audio communication to the MyQ app. You can control, secure, and monitor your garage anytime, anywhere from your smartphone. Schedule today at broughton.com.
Just simply call Broughton. We open doors for you.
Tavilla Properties, located at 11471 West Sample Road, Suite 17, located in Coral Springs, Florida, for all your commercial needs. Call Jan at 954-341-1632. That's 954-341-1632, or visit www.tavilla.properties.com.
Welcome back to Faith Stories. If you have any prayer requests, please email me at FaithStorieswDawn@gmail.com. That's FaithStorieswDawn@gmail.com. And welcome back. Wow. Oh my goodness. I love that. That is so powerful when you trust God and allow Him to bring the person into your life. Because my prayer when I was praying for my husband was, Lord, make it very clear He's the one. Take all others out of my life. And He did just that. And He did that with you, which is amazing. And He did that with you, you guys. Yeah. Okay, so now as we move forward, because we've got a few minutes, I want you guys to share where you are now and what you're doing and all that amazing things that God has placed on your heart.
Well, we have to finish the story in Panama.
I'm so sorry. I thought
and then we'll go to that.
Okay.
We're almost
We may
done.
need a part 2 to really flush it out because we're rushing.
The rest of that week was amazing. People around us noticed, hey, something's going on. My roommate that I brought, my Jewish non-believing friend, was like, what's going on? I was like, I think I met my wife. Well, I know I met my wife. Anyway, at the end of that trip, there was a few days of downtime coming. This time to a little island off another island, what was it, Contadora? Off the coast. And she was a student still. She was going to get back to school, and I offered to buy her plane ticket. It was like a little $50 jumper flight. And but she had no room to stay in. Another couple that was there with their children, chiropractors, said, hey, just stay in our room tonight. So she came across to the island with us.
Okay.
On
We
that
ended up
flight,
talking the entire
on that
night.
flight, she says on the flight, which is like a 20-minute flight, she says, when I die, I want my gravestone to say, all used up for God. And I thought to myself, I am marrying this woman. We never went to bed that night. We never slept. We stayed up all night talking. And before the end of the night, I said this to her. By the way, we've known each other now 5 days.
Okay.
You are going to marry me and spend the rest of your life with me. And she said,
That sounds crazy, but I think you're right. But don't call me. You can't call me because the book that I had read that really put me to this place of healing and my purpose said 6 months alone with no guy. And I had never done that. And I was 3 months in.
Did you go like guy to guy when you were younger?
Yeah, I always felt like there was something.
You were in a relationship.
Yes, not God alone.
Right.
Where He's my relationship.
Right.
And I was desperate. I'm like, I'm not messing this up. So
that was
you could write me for 3 months. So he came to my school for a conference, and that was when everything was confirmed. But there was a glitch. We don't have enough time to tell about the glitch. A counterfeit came that got dealt with. But that was a little scary moment, and there was a lot of more miraculous Godwinces to clear that up. Yeah. And then, yes, it's been 25 years.
When she
married.
left a day early from where I was leaving, it was the kind of island where you walk somebody to the airport and you put them on the plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the propellers are
Like a
moving.
movie.
Like a Humphrey Bogart movie.
Yes,
And
like
she
a movie.
said she wanted me to kiss her goodbye, but earlier that week she said, I don't want to be kissed till I'm at the altar. So I refused to kiss her, even
And
though she
I forgot
tried.
I told him that.
And he remembered,
And,
which is
and
awesome.
but I was getting mad because I'm like, he just told me we're going to spend the rest of our life together. He's not kissing me goodbye. And I finally, the propellers are on. I had to yell over the engine. I'm like, aren't you going to kiss me goodbye? And he goes, no. I'm like, what? He goes, you said you don't want to be kissed. I said, forget what I said.
Kiss me, buddy.
He goes, never. It is my job to uphold your
to
dream.
honor you. Yes.
Which
amen.
was highly
That's
annoying,
150
but very
times a
amazing.
day. So I make up for it.
You guys, I'm going
After
to have you
25
back.
years.
I have invited them back in March. They're going to do their own stories, but maybe what we need to do is have you come back and talk about more of the miracles that you had in your relationship, which I love. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having
appreciate
us.
it.
You're a lot of fun.
It was long in coming.
It's fun to
but
laugh with you.
yes, and snort. Okay. I forgot to tell you I snort.
There was a snort. They could cut that out.
So
Oh,
you
no,
guys,
don't do-
listen, next week we are going to be on Monday at 3 o'clock instead, because next Wednesday is our Jesus's birthday. So, and I will not be singing. Trust me, you don't want to hear me sing. But join us next Monday for Faith Stories at 3 o'clock. And go ahead and follow us on all the social media sites that we have. We have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook and YouTube and True Social. Hey, I got it through. Yay! We'll see you next week, you guys. Take care. Have a blessed week.
Thank you for watching Faith Stories, where you will hear stories of hope, faith, and love. Please join us next week, and remember, God meets you where you are, but doesn't